Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at Atlantis from Riffle Shuffle and designer Pedro Oyarbide. Now, you may not know Pedro's name, but you may have seen his work before. He's done a lot of work with Joker and the Thief, including on their eponymous Joker and the Thief deck, as well as Dystopia. So a couple of their best and most well-loved designs. He's the designer behind them. But for this one, he decided to work with Riffle Shuffle on what I'm going to call their line of luxury designs. Riffle Shuffle is well known for a lot of their kind of simpler designs, but on Kickstarter, they've been releasing a whole bunch of these really ornate and beautiful designs like what you see here. Now, this particular one is, of course, inspired by the myth of Atlantis. Atlantis was an ancient society said to be really technologically and politically advanced, way beyond anybody else at the time. They existed thousands of years ago, and according to the myth, the entire civilization was destroyed, sunk to the bottom of the sea, never to be seen or heard from again. So really crazy and fun myth from, as all good myths are, from the ancient Greeks. This one, though, comes in two different designs, celebrating both the pre-destruction and post-destruction versions. So over here in the green, you have the Rise edition, and on the blue, you have the Sink edition. Really similar, but there's some differences as we go through, so we're going to look at both of them. Now, let's start out, though, with the Rise edition. It is a green matte finish tuck case, but you can barely make out any of the actual cardboard because it's completely covered by foiling and embossing. Two different colors of foil. You have both green and gold. Great pairing against that green tuck case. You can see little bits like here between the letters of Atlantis. You can see some of the color of the tuck case itself. But you have the banner in the center with Atlantis. And then the bottom image here depicts Atlantis, the great city, with the temple in the background. You've got the statues perched on the sides here with the flame there in the middle. And this is just in the moments just before they were destroyed. So you can see the waves just starting to creep up, about to overtake the city. But this was kind of their last moment as a thriving civilization before they were destroyed. And up above, you can see the one who's responsible for that destruction. This is Zeus up in the clouds. So you can see him sending the storm, sending the lightning bolts down with that kind of menacing look on his face, just as he's deciding to destroy the city. Really beautiful design overall. You get these sort of tentacles crawling up the sides, just tons of detail in this radiating city. I have mention of Riffle Shuffle. You can just barely see it there on the sides. You got Riffle Shuffle on both sides. As you turn to the sides of the tuck, more detail, Atlantis with the waves lapping up on either side. Same thing on the other side. Add copy, even that part looks fancy on the bottom. You can see Pedro mentioned, as well as Riffle Shuffle, and these are made in the USA by USPCC. The bottom is kind of covered up, but it's an image of the hand of Zeus gripping the lightning bolt that he's kind of casting down on Atlantis. And then the back here, this isn't the back design of the cards, but features sort of a magnificent view of the city of Atlantis. There's columns in the foreground, and then a huge ornate temple in the back, glowing with the golden light all the way through, and then lots of different patterning and details all the way around, giving you just something to look at every turn. And you have Rise, the name of this edition, down there in gold at the bottom. You do get a kind of elongated tuck seal here. It says Riffle Shuffle in green and gold, and then it's numbered out of the edition of 3000. So I got 1248. So a really cool little seal there. And as you cut it open on the inner flap here, more ornate details. Riffle Shuffle, again mentioned on the inner here. And then you have an image, two images of a glowing crown on the inner flaps there. The interior has printing as well. It's kind of hard to make out, but you can see some of the detail on this one. As you look down in the tuck case, hard to make out, but I'll put a picture up here of what you can see inside. And it's another just outstanding, beautiful panoramic view of the city. So you can see it stretched out all the way around the interior of the tuck case. So that's the tuck case. Beautifully done, just a really impactful one. It'll look great on any shelf. Let's look at the cards. All right, starting with the back design. And it is Really impressive back design, done in a mixture of that green background with gold metallic inks all the way around. This is something that if you've seen the Joker in the Thief deck, this is going to have kind of a similar aesthetic to it. Really detailed line drawing all the way around, kind of broken into 4 quadrants here. The top and the bottom ones feature the head of Zeus. You can see him looking down on the city, flanked by a couple of birds on the sides, lightning bolts radiating out from his head. And then on the other two, you have a mirror 2 different designs. So on one side, you have the city before its destruction, sun shining in the background, those temples in the foreground. And then as you flip it to the other side, you can see it in the moments after its destruction. So all of the temples crumbling, it's going up in flames as it's been destroyed by that menacing storm. So very cool. It's a one-way back design because of the differences in those images, but I think it's still kind of a fun, interesting design filled with all sorts of symbolism. And you'll see on the sides there, 2 hands of Zeus clutching 2 more lightning bolts. But then finishes out in that nice thin white poker border for a really interesting and lots to look at, but still pretty easy to make out. Lots of contrast in this one. So there is your back design. And looking at the cards, the metallics don't stop there. We have both gold and silver metallics as we look at the 2 Jokers here. And they reflect 2 classic gestures, one in green and gold, or green, gold, and silver, one red, gold, and silver. And they're both dancing on the ruins of the destroyed city. And kind of reflecting both the happiness and the sadness. So one kind of dancing with kind of glee and holding that happy mask in his hands, and the other one mourning the loss of the city. But really beautiful metallics on here, and I can't tell for sure, but I think this is also a metallic green that's on here. So very bright metallics. Love how those shine in the light. Really cool look to those overall. There's your 2 Jokers. You also get a couple of gaff cards if you want to use this for Magic. So you get a double backer and a blank facer as your gaff cards. And then we get into the main deck. And here's the aces to begin with. So the ace of spades is another big, bold ace. Have that large spade pip in the middle, green background, but covered in gold metallic ink. Have the Riffle Shuffle banner, and then lots of little symbols, whether it be the waves on the side, you have the temple in the background, you have this orb sort of representing the technology or mysterious powers that the Atlanteans had, and then the crown at the bottom maybe symbolizing either the rulers of Atlantis or maybe of Zeus. So really beautiful, huge spade pip in the middle, just says Made in USA at the bottom. And then you have in this green color, kind of a forest green, the pip and index in the corner. Fairly classic. The other 3 aces are not quite as ornate, or not nearly as ornate, but they do feature a preview of the smaller pips that we're going to see on the number cards. Each one of them has that metallic ink in the center, gold on the red card, so you got the column there, and then kind of this greenish gold on the classically black card. So the club pip there has these swirls, kind of like waves or wind. And then you have the waves lapping up on the heart. So very cool aces. The number cards are, comparatively speaking, fairly simple, but they do feature custom pips as well with that little touch of gold metallic ink. I will say sometimes you see these custom pips and there's too much going on in them to make out the detail, but I think this is just the right amount. It's got that kind of custom flair to it, but still easy to make out on those smaller pips. So you have the eye on these custom spade pips, and then as you get into the diamonds, you have that column again, just like we saw in the ace of diamonds, the cracked column. And then moving to the clubs, we have the swirling wind on the 3 leaves of the club pip. And finally is the heart with those waves with the sun glowing across the top. So that is the number cards. Like I said, comparatively speaking, fairly simple, but still really, really nice custom pips on those. And then you get to the court cards, and there's a lot going on, just tons of detail. Again, done in a myriad of metallic inks that just glow in the light as you tilt this. And they all feature some of the characters of Atlantis, and they're all carrying mysterious items, maybe hinting at their technology that was kind of so far advanced even of humans today. And so each of them wearing kind of classic looking garb, but all holding sort of weird and mysterious items. Here you have like the pot with the stairway going in and flames coming out, a moon in her other hand for the queen. Really beautifully drawn. Love the colors. That green metallic that's on there is outstanding. And the red cards add a little extra splash of color with the red coming in on there. And also call attention, you've got the kind of outline or line drawing of sort of an abstract view of the city in the background. Those shards of gold splintering off in the background, kind of giving you a hint of the city behind them. There are your club number cards. So back to that green, silver, and gold, less red. And then big pops of color on the hearts. Love just all those mysterious items they have in their hands. So that is the deck. Now, before we talk about handling and uses of the deck, let's take a quick look at the Sink edition. So if Rise was before the destruction, Sink is after the destruction. So we're going to see a lot of similarities on the deck. You'll see here the design is roughly the same. The only difference really, there's a big difference here in the face of Zeus, whereas here he was just sort of, menacingly looking down at the city. On this one, he's actually blowing the hurricane down on the city. So you can see the wind blowing out of his mouth as he finally sends that hurricane crashing into the city, sends the waves to finally destroy the city. Mentions it's the Sink edition there in the center. All around, a lot of the same details on the sides. The back, though, features now a destroyed version of the city. You'll see the columns cracked, flames, falling columns, waves, and water going all the way around as the city's been destroyed. Different colors, obviously, on the tuck seal, and then same details on the inner flaps here. The inner printing of this one as well has a change scene, this time now reflecting the total destruction of the city. Now getting into the cards, we're going to see basically the same design for the most part, but now we have dark blue with silver metallic on the back. Same design of the city in two parts on the sides. The image of Zeus has been changed a little bit to reflect him now finally blowing that hurricane down onto the city as well. I personally like this blue and silver a good bit more. It's a great pairing. That blue is a fantastic color, and then the silver goes great with it. Turning to the cards themselves, again, pretty similar, but now the green metallics that we saw have been replaced with blue metallics. I've got to say, this is not a color of blue that you see very often. First time I remember seeing it was on the Oxygen deck from Elemental playing cards. It's got to be one of my favorite colors of metallics. It's not very often used, but it is outstanding. So as we go through the cards, other than the slight color changes, there's really not too much that's changed on this one. We just have blue instead of the green, but we have the same designs on the faces, on the number cards, etc. Not too much else has changed. So that is the Sink version of the deck. Now, as far as handling, these come from USPCC on a nice crushed stock. Beautiful handling on them, very smooth right out of the box. Can't complain about anything on that front. Cuts, pharaohs, dribbles, all that, they're going to handle really, really nicely for you. So can't complain about the handling with any USPCC deck. I will say you'll get, especially with those super thin borders, you'll probably catch a glimpse of some of those registration issues that USPCC is prone to. You'll see this one's not quite centered. That's always a little bit annoying, but these aren't too bad. So that's it. Now, as far as uses of the deck, look, I think it's going to be an art deck for a lot of people. It's super ornate, lots to look at and appreciate both on the tuck case and on the cards within. So as an art and collector's deck, this is really going to make its mark. I think you could use it for gameplay. It's definitely kind of a blingier deck, but would still look great for gameplay and really stand out. So gameplay, collectors, I think that's going to be it. Despite the addition of a couple of gaff cards, I don't think this is really, well suited for magicians or even cardists. Really gameplay and collecting. So that's it. That is the look at Atlantis from Riffle Shuffle and Pedro Oyarbide. Congrats to them on another great deck. I'm a big fan. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews and unboxings, and let me know what else you want to see, and I'll see you for the next one.